And we're live, folks. Back again. This is your host of Lit Literature, JP, a.k.a. The Demon. Just in case you forgot last time, because I guess I forgot to introduce myself. Supposedly. But you're here with the crew and for a special episode, which we'll be releasing in between our standard episodes. This is part 2 of our initial reactions of the Netflix series, The Witcher. However, we are talking both book and game in these discussions. You're here with the small crew that was with us last episode. We'll go ahead, round circle.
All right, boys, as you recall, I just got out of that Necker nest that I found, and right now I've wandered into a refugee camp. There's a lot of people with head wraps around their head. They're kind of hiding their ears. Oh, wait a minute, they just took it off. Guys, I think I'm in a Scoatel camp.
Oh
my.
By the way, this is the captain.
And this is Ben, the Hitman.
All right. Ben, short and sweet. All right, we're here again with you folks. We just finished discussing and cheersing Renfrey and the end of episode 1, though we talked a little bit about 2 and 3 in there, just a tiny bit. So I think it's time that, I think Ben had a few last comments about episode 1, and then we can move on to 2.
Yeah.
Sure.
The thing that bothered me the most probably is, alright, he killed Renfrey, which was the wrong choice, but whatever.
Agreed.
And then the wizard comes out and is like, I'm going to take a body and autopsy her.
He got really excited again, too.
Yeah. Autopsy. But then Geralt had the sword against his neck. It's like, you're not going to touch her. It's like, oh yes, he's going to kill him, and it'll be fine. And then the townspeople throw a couple stones at him, and he's like, no, the townspeople don't like me now. I got to go, and he just goes away.
So my opinion, though, is, remember, he's very, very conscious about not being the monster that the people say he is. And if he just murdered the wizard in front of all the people, they would even hate Witchers more forever. So, and remember how, like, nasty, Witcher, get out of our town, Witcher. They were, like, already like that. So, you know, all they'd have to do is slit the throat of the wizard, who they think is somebody else, by the way. But
yeah, there was kind of a confusing part there where, because there was a mob on both sides of Geralt. There was one behind him who was stoning him, and another mob behind the wizard, which the girl was part of that mob. Mikhail or whatever, and she was like, well, you need to get out of here now, Geralt. You're not welcome here anymore. Yeah. It's like, well, shouldn't the crowd that was behind the wizard be supportive of Geralt? Like, I understand why the crowd behind him was angry, because they probably sided with Renfrey and her cohorts, but shouldn't the other crowd have been, like, more supportive of him? Especially
the girl who he saved, who also liked him in the first episode.
Right.
You know, but remember, she also really liked the wizard. And I think that what we didn't get to see there was the deep, creepy roots that the wizard has done to manipulate these townfolk, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I can understand at least, even if I don't agree with it, because it would have been so easy for Geralt to just decapitate the wizard, and then everyone would just be silent as he left. But then, you know,
that would be really effective mic drop.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe this time you don't throw stones at me.
Peace.
Throws his head on the ground.
You know, but at the same time, he is trying to live by not only a code, but also show people that, I don't know, he's not the monster that they say he is. But, well, I think this is going to be something he struggles with throughout.
Was it episode 2 or 3 where he says, don't call me a human, I'm not anything like that?
Yeah, that's episode 2.
I can't remember what episode 2.
When
which we're about to talk about.
The elves who will eventually become the Scoatel have him hostage in their camp. That's when he says, don't call me a human, I'm not technically human.
Yeah. So let's actually branch off into episode 2 with that said.
Yes, let's do so. Do you guys mind if I kick it off with a few comments?
Go for it. Go for it.
So, I love right away in episode 2, they begin the story of Yennefer, of course, which in its very infancy, the early part of her story is really heartbreaking. You get to see what kind of a terrible life she had as a hunchback.
She got sold for half a pig.
Right.
Half a pig.
Yeah.
The pig
She was not even
10.
worth
She was
the
like
full
four pence.
Dude, the mom came out and she was like, "You can't sell our daughter."
Yeah.
The husband's like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
I already said deal. It's over. I can't take it back.
Like,
Terrible.
oh God, that's terrible. Yeah.
So yeah, we get that whole horrible story arc. I mean, horrible as in tragic, not. It's really well written. Just really tragic and sad. But right away in Geralt's story, he seems to be in a different area. In episode 1, we get the origin. I just wanted to bring this up to make it official. We get the origin of his negative nickname, the Butcher of Blaviken.
Yes, we do.
So that was something that you had heard a lot in the third Witcher game. And since I didn't read the books, I didn't know what that meant. But we get to see the origins of his negative nickname, the Butcher of Blaviken, so we know what that means now. Like, oh man, yeah, that is a nickname that Geralt does not like, for obvious reasons. But he seems to be, and when episode 2 starts, he seems to be in a very different area, and he runs into a certain bard who immediately takes an interest in him and starts singing about him. And if you're a fan of the book series or the game series, you figure that guy is Dandelion from the.
It must be.
It's obviously got to be Dandelion. And I was curious because they never mentioned his character's name in the show. Geralt never asks for his name; he just never cares. So I'm like, dude, that's got to be Dandelion. And I looked it up in the credits, and the character's name was not Dandelion, it was Jaskier. So I was like, what the heck, who is this Jaskier guy? But then I did a little more digging and I looked online, and Jaskier is Polish for dandelion. So they literally just slightly adjusted his name, and I think his name was even Jaskier in the books. It was only in the video game series that his name was Dandelion. So I'm like, okay, that's the same character that we know and love or hate from the video game.
For some reason, I can't deny that Jaskier also seems like a fitting name. So they both, I guess, work. I don't know why. It just sounds right.
Yeah.
Dude, it was amazing. The first thing that was amazing is that he's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
The second thing, that he's just like Dandelion, and you immediately want to punch him in the face.
Yes. It's very annoying. And he goes on a very, very small, brief mission with Geralt, where they're trying to kill, or trying to find out the source of somebody stealing grain, and it turns out to be a Sylvan who's kind of like a satyr type guy.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's allied with the elves. And the elves are kind of a downtrodden race in the whole Witcher series. They've fallen out of power in lieu of man, who has kind of dominated everything. And so Dandelion and Geralt are put into a pretty sticky situation where it looks like they're going to be executed. But Geralt gives a pretty riveting speech to the elves there who have them hostage. Did Demon and Hitman, did you guys like that scene?
So I enjoyed the scene. Yes. Let me step a few back before I hand over to Ben to give his opinion. The first thing is like, I like the investigation where they were investigating like the devil stealing the crop, and that's where you allude to the Sylvan. Or I'm sorry, was it Sylvan?
He's called a Sylvan in the show, but he's basically a satyr from Greek mythology.
But anyway, it looked so funny. The reason I was so surprised is like I was looking at the satyr when he emerged, and I'm like, it should look cheesy. But there's something about it that made me feel like that's probably what it would really look like. And it just had this weird realism, like when he punched it in the head. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it looks like it should be cheesy, like just like cheesy. But
prosthetics.
For whatever reason, it just came off like that's probably what it would really look like. So I don't know. For some reason, it dawned on me that they're doing a great job again with this to like avoid even making something so cheesy looking look not cheesy, you know. So, and also just the acting chops there. I don't know what it did. It just combined in a way where, like, if I saw that anywhere else, and if I just saw that clip, I'd be like, that is the cheesiest looking thing I've ever seen. But it just wasn't. It just worked. I don't know what happened. But so I wanted to go back there real quick. But then I really liked it because, Geralt, he decided to let him go. Like, he just said, just get out of here, you know. Stop stealing. You can't steal here. You just got to get out of here. He, let him off. And that's when they got, kidnapped. Yeah, that's where they got jumped. So I did like that ploy because then when they were being interrogated by the past king of the elves at this point, who is now basically a beggar, and Geralt's just basically telling him, like, go somewhere else and rebuild. Like, stop staying here. It's just, they were at odds, but the satyr actually came, the Sylvan or satyr, or both, came to his defense in that sense, which I also think played a role. I liked it because they hint at this old history. Now, we know playing the game, the history of the elders, the elves being just very ancient, but they have fallen out of power. And there was a line that Geralt used, and he's like, you hate them because they adapt well to the chaos, to the magic. It has something to do with humans adapting, may have something to do with the long lifespan of the elves, potentially. I could imagine that if your natural lifespan is much longer than that of a human, or much longer than that of a bug or a bacteria, the shorter the lifespan, the easier you can adapt to circumstances.
Right.
So I'd imagine that.
You think that, but for wizards, they live a lot longer
that's a good
than
point. But
a normal human.
They live a lot longer than a normal human, but did we just get
same
that?
Mindset.
Yeah, they have the same mindset.
And they may take longer to make major decisions because they know a lot more and have more knowledge. Yeah. They take longer to adapt to change. Maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then even if wizards do live longer, do they live as long as the elders? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe not. That's something I was just thinking about. I'm not sure if that's the right answer, but I enjoyed that scene. It was interesting. It definitely surprised me, actually.
Yeah,
a little bit. I was kind of like, whoa, we're still watching the same show in a way. But what about you, Hitman?
Yeah, I like the scene. I don't know. You guys have a lot of remembrance from the games, and I don't. I'm like, man, what's up with these elves? And how do they lose power?
You remember being in that old, ancient, elven, what was it even? It was like an old stronghold or castle at the end part of the game.
Yeah, they're pretty much the elves are pretty much in refugee camps, or they're in the slums of Novigrad in Witcher 3.
Yeah, they've
already fallen out of power long ago. So you're basically just seeing their poor and impoverished remnants rather than the kingdom that they once were.
But we do get to go into some of those ruins in the game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree, guys. There's one theme that that is kind of always going to be present with Geralt's character, and this is something that's really cool that I really appreciated about the game is that every single monster hunt is not going to end the exact same way where Geralt just kills the monster and gets his coin. There's a few monsters where you fight in the game, and this is obviously true with the series as well, where he fights the monster and he's like, there's a better way to deal with this. I'm not going to kill these guys. I'm going to try to help them or try to find some kind of compromise. And we get to see that with the Sylvan and the Scoia'tael, the elves in the show.
Yeah, because he took that job. There was a reason he didn't have enough coin. He needed to get something. The first one, he wanted to get new clothes. He wanted enough coin to get new clothes.
Yeah.
The second one, he wanted coin to get something else.
I know in the third episode, he needed coin to pay for his
room with the prostitute and his horse was being Roach.
And
poor
so
Roach
he put
was
Roach
being
up
held
as collateral.
I love when he wakes. I'm sorry, I'm going to jump really quick to the third episode for one line. I love when he wakes up and he's like, give me the coin. I need to get to my horse.
Yeah.
He's like immediate. He's just thinking about Roach.
I love Roach. That was really cool in the first episode when he called the horse Roach. I'm like, okay, this horse is not gonna die. Because normally in fantasy series, the horse of the main hero gets killed a lot, and they get a lot of replacements. But that is not the case in The Witcher. Roach is definitely a long-standing horse that does not get. The horse is not a red shirt.
Well, I talked to my horse.
I might be wrong.
I think
but
you're
I thought every horse he has, he names Roach.
I think so.
Oh, that could be it. I'm not sure.
So like, they die, he just gets a new horse like you, not Roach.
Oh, okay, that could be it. You might be right, Hitman.
I actually think that is the case. However, I think that it's one of those things where horses don't live as long as witchers do.
Right.
It's not that he's. Although in the game, a bear could kill Roach, and then you have to get a new Roach.
I didn't. Correctly. I don't think I ever lost my horse in the game.
Am I crazy, Ben?
I don't know.
Man, this is how long it's been, folks. I could be crazy. I'm pretty sure that you could have. Maybe I'm totally wrong though. Maybe Roach never dies.
One way or the other, Geralt really does care a lot about Roach.
He does.
So, he's not gonna run it into battle and get it killed right away. He really does have a friendship with his horse.
I think they did a great job in episode 1 saying that too, when he's like talking to Roach and then she comes up behind him. And again, to her skill, he couldn't hear her. And remember that he has like a nose and ears like an animal.
Right.
So he was surprised. That's saying something.
Yeah, Renfrey was able to sneak up on him.
Twice. And then the second time she caught him talking to his horse. And he was kind of like, what? Why? What? I talked to my horse.
She said, that's sad. And he's like, is it? As in it, like, is it, period? That's not a question, that's a statement.
Let's talk a little bit. So episode 2, we Dandelion, by the way, good tunes. We also find out the origin. Dandelion is the origin of the counter nickname that Geralt has in Witcher 3, which is the White Wolf.
Yes.
Because Dandelion said, hey, wouldn't it be nice if you weren't called the Butcher of Blaviken all the time?
Right.
Because he was singing it, and then Geralt was getting pissed at him.
And then punched him in the balls.
Yeah, he did punch him in the balls, yeah.
I think that's probably, honestly, Dandelion's one redeeming value, is that he has good song ideas, and he knows how to spin doctor, so that Geralt can get some good press for once.
I was realizing now, in this case, it didn't come off totally evident, but I could see in their friendship as it develops. What I realized is Dandelion, whenever you meet him or talk to him or anything, nothing ever bodes well. You're just always in a worse situation than you were beforehand.
He's always such a troublemaker.
In this case, he kind of just went along for the ride, which was actually one of the better instances I can imagine running into Dandelion would be.
Right.
You know, you're not suddenly in the middle of some ridiculous fiasco, but
right.
But that was very good. So we think that we don't know for sure, right? But my suspicion is that after this, he's going to go and spin a tale about the White Wolf.
Yes.
And it's going to spread and will kind of overcome the Butcher of Blaviken. Because if I remember correctly, the White Wolf was more renowned than the Butcher of Blaviken was.
Yes.
But people who knew the Butcher of Blaviken, it pissed Geralt off.
Yeah, if I remember correctly from the game, it was mainly opponents of Geralt that would say, oh, you're the Butcher of Blaviken. Like it was his enemies who would call him that. And that was in comparison to people who were meeting Geralt for the first time. Or people who knew Geralt to be a good guy, they would call him the White Wolf rather than the Butcher of Blaviken.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Dandelion's got some good use right there for Geralt.
I'm kind of looking forward to when we meet the dwarf.
Yeah, me too, man.
What was his name again?
It was something with a Z. Let me look it up, because I was thinking about that demon.
We saw a few dwarves in the mines in episode 3.
Yes.
So-
They were, because in the game, the dwarf and Dandelion were really buddy-buddy. They were really close. But we obviously haven't seen that particular dwarf in the series yet.
Yeah.
So, in episode 2, I think, was that a dwarf when Ciri got the shoes from...
Oh,
the
yeah, that
serpent?
was a dwarf. So episode 2, that's a great... Let's talk about Ciri. We haven't talked enough about Ciri yet. And she had... first of all, Ciri had scenes in episode 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Or was she mostly 2?
Could be both.
I can't remember when they started to introduce that. So, but
I think she was in both.
Ciri...
So the,
I never...
real quick, guys, that dwarf's name was Zoltan Chevet.
Zoltan, that was it. Okay. So, Ciri, back to Ciri. The one thing that we didn't spend enough time talking about is I didn't realize how badass her backstory was. Like her grandma, we don't know exactly what happened to her mom.
No, we don't.
Yet.
The grandma is Queen Calanth of Centra.
Right, and she was a badass. Warrior,
was.
maiden. And actually, it was amazing to see her grandfather, I think it was her grandfather at that point in time.
Dude
if
from
not her
Skellige?
grandfather. Yeah, the dude from Skellige.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like married to this warrior queen. But then like he was in the position that most queens would be in.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he was just like having fun with his granddaughter on the
Right.
side, and they were kind of like but then on Battle it was amazing to see like how they were
Working
kind
together.
of yeah,
Like,
working
owning.
together, just
But,
totally owning. Yeah, it was super awesome.
Because, he married into the family.
Yeah.
And it was the queens who ruled her line.
Centra, yeah, the queens. They didn't want to tell her something huge. And even on the queen's dying bed, did she not tell her? She decided not to tell her. I think that was just so unfortunate. I was so worried about that because now, series. I mean, I understand. Like, I know the character later. It ends up somehow. But
Yeah.
But man, there's some big piece of information that I feel like.
And I'm assuming it's to do with her magic that we see a
Right.
few times. That when
Yes.
she screams,
Yes.
it creates a sound wave.
Exactly. As a quick side note, guys, I was doing a little digging onto the characters in the show, and I don't know if this is the same as in the books, but the Nilfgaardian archer, who's kind of the primary villain in the first
he killed
episode.
The king.
The king,
Yeah, he kills the dude from Skellige, and then he kills Ciri's bodyguard, who was that young knight who was getting her out of the village, out of the town. He does have a name in the show. His character was named Cahir, so he may become a more prevalent villain. We don't really know. I'm assuming if he works for Nilfgaard, he's probably going to be an antagonist of some type. But
whether it's because of orders or because of what other reason, we don't know.
Yeah. So that character does have a name.
Okay. Yeah, that was quite the archery as well.
Yeah.
Again, great to the chops of the acting and the scene cut there, because that reaction that the queen has at that moment when the king from Skellige, I forget his name, gets sniped. Man, it was just like that. Again, I was just like, oh man, this show is living up to the scope, because those minute details like that just drive that feeling of this is The Witcher.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, whoa. So Ciri's got some power. She escapes.
Before that, let's talk about the mercy of the queen.
Oh, the mercy of the queen.
That is
Good call,
a rough,
Hitman.
a rough scene. Like
That was so bad. Dude, the worst was the dad, her friend, right? That she was like playing in the street. Her friend and the guy's wife gets the poison, but that was it. They ran out.
No.
They didn't have enough stock.
He only took 2 of the 3 bottles.
Yeah, the Black Knight offered 3 bottles, but the father only took 2, and then later he killed himself with a dagger by pounding it into his neck.
he knew that they were getting offered above anybody else, for sure.
Well, those were all the nobles from the party, and I mean, I guess that's just how nobility works. Like, like you live that life, and here's your poison. But I think he didn't take it because, like, he felt like he's killing his wife and his son, and he's like, he had to atone for it by killing himself.
I think maybe
that's a good appraisal of that scene.
Yeah, he had to feel that pain. Not like he couldn't go out with a painless death.
So that's an interesting way to look at it. My other way of looking at it is that he knew that there isn't enough. There is a limited supply of the Queen's Mercy.
That is like an even more heroic.
And then I was thinking that, like, I respect that guy because he chose to take 2 and then did the deed himself because he knew other people would need the Queen's Mercy. Either way, it makes him, like, pretty respectable individual.
You feel bad for that family.
Yeah. And, like, I've read books before where the invading army comes and, like, all the women will be sequestered in, like, a room. Like, in Game of Thrones is actually the first thing that pops in my mind. And there's another book.
There's one that we were just reading in the Lightbringer series where all the women jumped off a cliff with the kids, the women and kids, because of what they did to a city beforehand.
Because obviously, well, not obviously, it sounds bad, but obviously this could be raped. And kept as slaves until they're killed.
Right.
And it's like the mercy of the queen that, here's an easy death. You don't have to face this.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Nilfgaard,
just the fact that Nilfgaard doesn't take any prisoners, like if you're stuck in an area that's getting captured by an army like that, that's probably your best option,
Yeah.
Like I as I was watching the scene where all of those people were committing suicide, and then Ciri was escorted out by the mage Mousesack and and her bodyguard. Yeah. I was like, man, it feels like the other aristocrats could have tried going out that way, but then all that would have done is probably just gotten more attention focused on Ciri. So it's like, I understand why they did what they did.
Yeah. I thought the same thing, Andrew.
Yeah.
Could you go out at least fighting or something? I don't know. But then you risk not
right, because then you risk Ciri getting killed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And that's a tough one. But we find out she has some pretty beast power, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Like a scream, like a siren. And then we also meet a little elf guy.
Yeah, dude, right away, the minute they showed him with his hat over his ears. Immediately, I'm like, that dude's an elf. I know he's an elf.
That was better than me. I was kind of like, they're probably not even they're going to write elves out. But then I was like, I don't know why I thought that.
Immediately, when I saw that little dude, I'm like, he's got to be an elf.
Honestly, I feel like bad because it's been so long since I played Witcher. I forgot that like elves and dwarves played a huge part, and this society treats it like the whole story. I mean, it's so well done with the races and how it's fallen compared to other fantasies.
Yeah,
that I was like, I forgot all about that almost. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's really neat. There's a few series that have elves in positions of power, like not Game of Thrones. Lord of the Rings is one where the elves are kind of in a position of power.
They're almost at their like highest point, without their highest, but they're
past the peak.
Yeah, but they're still like compared to any other group.
There's other series that are identical to Witcher. Dragon Age comes to mind.
Yes,
where the
Dragon
elves
Age.
in Dragon Age are in the exact same position that they're in Witcher, where they're kind of like the downtrodden, disenfranchised race who have lost everything and are trying to rebuild their, the pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I almost forgot about Dragon Age a little bit.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if there was a little inspiration taken there. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, what came first? Andrzej Sapkowski's Witcher novels or Dragon Age?
Yeah, not sure. But anyway, either way, they're both great. So
right, yeah, they're both great.
Borrowing of good ideas for good stuff. So we get a cool scene. I think it was in episode 2 at this point, with Ciri gets adopted by a family that hates her grandma.
Right. Yeah.
And at the same time, totally and utterly mistreats their dwarf servant and elves.
Dwarves and elves.
Right.
Because
they don't even know they're being bad.
And the son was super hatred of the elves because they killed his brother.
Right.
So
it was interesting to see the. Oh, go ahead, Captain.
I was just gonna say that the son's viewpoint was kind of justified, but still unfortunate. But yeah, they were clearly kind of like an upper middle class family from Centra, they were forced into the same boat everyone else was, where they just became refugees, and they had a lot more wealth to try and protect. And unfortunately, it just created more danger for them in the long run when they were once they entered that refugee status.
Yeah.
Because then there's just more enemies for them to contend with when the shit hits the fan.
When the hit hits. The other thing that I thought was really interesting that they drew attention to was both the kindness and ignorance of people.
Right.
As in, these people were not trying to necessarily be evil.
Right.
They literally thought it was the way. And then they were so kind to Ciri, but then so evil to their little servant.
Right.
I felt so bad for him.
And she even was like, what the hell? And then they're talking crap about her grandma.
Right.
And how it's all her fault and all this stuff. But then at the same time, so she's keeping her mouth shut because they're saving her.
Right.
Yeah.
But then she's watching both the good and bad that these people are doing. And as in The Witcher, everything good comes with a little bit of bad. You'll get a job from a person to do some good for a bad person.
Yes.
And they test you that way in the game often. And you realize, doing the right thing, you'll be doing it for the wrong person. Or doing the wrong thing for the right person. The Witcher is, renowned for doing that shit. Yeah. And so they're introducing these characters all the time. So these characters are very gray. I mean, these people are about as twisted as you can get, but they're not bad people. They're just
trying to survive. Like
and
everybody
they're also
else.
a little twisted. They're twisted.
Right.
They have their view on reality is concrete, one directionally concrete, and Ciri gets a taste of that.
Right.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then the elf boy saves her again.
Yep.
This time we find out he could talk.
It was a shame to see the one son die. Because it seemed like he had really big plans to try and become a knight and try to get revenge for Centra and fight against Nilfgaard.
The world,
obviously he was slaughtered with the rest of the refugees in that camp. So we're not going to see any more of those plans. But I was happy that at least the elf kid helped Ciri out.
Yeah, very on his toes, knows what's up, lives out on his own in the woods. Definitely. Probably because of his particular race, is well aware of, cautious about people like that. So, but we might as well just finish Ciri's story.
Sure.
Even though it takes place into part 3, I think, too,
right?
That's
fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Talk about the end of it.
I mean, what did you think about that forest that called her?
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, same here, Hitman. I have no idea. I know that a lot of the mages operate in seclusion. Like a lot of the sorcerers, because they have such immense power, they're supposed to have regulatory restrictions on that power, but some of them just are like, screw that, I'm just going to go do what I want, regardless. So it
Suddenly
could be,
you have an enchanted forest.
Right. It could literally be like a rogue mage who just has control of that forest, who's trying to lure in Ciri. I really don't know. That's probably my best guess. Yeah. I'm hoping that it's not like the 3 witches.
Oh,
the 3 hags from the Wild
Hunt. We can't
Hunt.
be in that area, could we?
No, I don't think so. I think that's too in a different area. But I'm hoping it's not that. I'm thinking it's probably just a rogue mage.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were those witches
I'm
called?
hoping.
Do you guys remember?
Yeah, those 3 hags.
Yeah, what were they?
What were they?
I'm gonna look it up real
Man,
quick.
that was bad.
It
Like,
was
I mean, good. It was fun,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was like, no, man.
It's been so long, I can't remember. But I'm hoping that Elfriend is not dead.
Me too,
Yeah,
because
he
you saw
got
those
hit
bones.
right in the
Yeah.
shoulder, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it was up high, so it's not conclusive.
However, all the bones had only 1 arrow in them, which makes me
Yeah.
worried about poison arrows.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh no, all those bones have 1 arrow stuck in them. And there's not like 2 arrows or whatever. I really do hope he's okay, though. I would hate to see that kid.
So if
you
you
know.
guys have played The Witcher 3, which I know Demon and Hitman, you guys both have, the witches we were referencing were the 3 crones, otherwise known as the
crones.
Ladies of the Wood.
Yes.
They were, you know, they live kind of in seclusion on their own. It says here they live in the swamps of Velen, so I'm not sure if Ciri is anywhere near Velen.
I don't think so.
I'm thinking that it's probably more like a rogue mage who has control of those woods, but I really don't know. I'm in the same boat as you guys. I don't know who could be in control of that.
Yeah. Do you remember when she woke up, there was a voice in her head, right?
Yep.
There
That
was.
said
Yeah,
something?
she was like
You
in
remember
a
what it
trance
said?
almost.
And it was calling her
Knew
name.
her name.
It was
Yeah.
calling her name.
Yeah. Yeah, knew her name. So Ciri is going to be exciting to watch grow. Maybe even meet Geralt in train, I hope.
Yeah, I'm hoping they get together before the end of the season, but I'm thinking that's going to be the season climax.
You think
so? Good call,
Weeks.
Ben. Do we want to do a Brett bet on that?
Yeah, I like it. Let's try it.
Alright, I'm saying the last episode of like 7, 8's like a combo episode.
Okay.
You know how it is.
Is
but-
there 8? Did we know? I don't know how
There
many
is
there are.
6 only, I believe.
Oh, only
Only
6?
6, I'm pretty
We're
sure.
halfway, boys.
Oh.
We're halfway.
Yeah, I think we're
Super
halfway.
short. I thought there was 8. But yeah, then I'm saying episode 6 they meet up.
With only 6 episodes, it's hard for me to say
I know.
anything else.
I
There's
know.
only 2 episodes. How are they going to meet up? It's got to be on the next mission. I'm going to say that they'll meet up in episode 5, and 6 will have to do with Geralt's decision to adopt and
And earlier.
commit
my.
to the training, or to commit to his destiny, as we should say.
Okay.
Oh,
So you
maybe
guys both
they'll
say
meet up in the
yes.
next season.
Maybe they will meet up in the next season, which I would prefer.
You guys
because that means it's
both
longer.
say yes.
Yeah.
They will meet by the end of the last episode of the season. I'm going to say no,
Yeah.
that they do not. Because I think because Geralt hasn't even met Yennefer yet. I think he's probably
Yeah.
going to meet Yennefer first and then Ciri. But I could be wrong. I could be grossly
Actually,
wrong. I'm just going to
I
say
think you're
I'll
right
go no.
because of history. I'm pretty sure that Geralt and Yennefer have like a thing, and then they
Yeah.
meet Ciri. Or maybe they develop a thing because of Ciri.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can't remember if they brought them together.
So you
Well,
guys
they-
both
they-
say yes, and I'll say no.
Alright.
All right, 2 on 1 for this.
I do know that.
I like your idea though, Hitman. I think that could be potentially that could be a good climax to the series.
Yeah.
But I think that there's more that Geralt needs to see before he
Yeah.
meets.
You know what though? I think the right way to do it is probably how you're thinking, Captain. I just wonder when they made it, they might have made it as a potential single, just in case. Sometimes they
yeah.
do that with the first one. They
They
like
do,
kind of because like the fact that they only got 6 episodes budgeted, but then they got approved for 2 right away, season 2.
Oh, season
Right.
2, yeah.
It makes me think that what happened is people were kind of like, okay, we'll give you the money. And then they made it. And then they were like, but you're only getting enough money to do 6. And then the producers watched it and they were like, oh, that shit's dope. We're making 2.
Yeah. Well, that, and I think they got a huge response from the first weekend.
So
Okay.
this may
From the
influence
viewers, right?
your decision, Jeff. Hitman was right. It is 8 episodes. For whatever reason, I thought it was 6. But
I thought it was
Hitman,
6
you're right.
too.
It is
I'm
8
glad.
episodes.
I'm glad now, because 6 just seems so short.
Yeah, it does. I'm glad too. I'm happy there's
I can
more
do
to
8.
it. Does that change your answer, Demon?
Changes 5, but episode. I said
7.
episode 5, but now it might be 7. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll leave it. I'm gonna
Okay.
say they're gonna have to, because I think that they did make the series as a just in case.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna give it enough of an end that just in case that they didn't get renewed.
I'll
That would be
be
nice
right
if they
back
did
for us.
that,
I'm gonna take a quick
and it
look.
wouldn't be like so stressful like
Oh, now we got
other
wait
series
3
like
years.
Firefly, who's like, this series is amazing. Let's show it out of order and end it after one season.
Yeah. By the way, the decision that the producers made to show it out of order was ridiculous.
I can't remember why offhand.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they just. That bothers
okay.
me as well. Yeah, but I do like that Brett bet. Seems like the captain is getting a beer right now, so I think we can move off
Yeah.
of Siri. And are we done with episode 2? Was there anything else in episode 2? Should we move on to 3?
So 2.
The Bard, Siri.
I mean, in episode
Yennefer
3,
we
we can talk
talked
about
about.
Yennefer.
Yeah, we talked about Yennefer a lot already, but we do kind of want to save part of Yennefer's for episode 3, the big transition. In episode 2,
talk
though,
about
I
that.
think we could talk a little bit about just like the standard daily life and training of the wizards or the sorceresses. I mean, that shit is ridiculous.
Yeah.
When that girl, when she challenges to like elevate the stone and she does it and she's like, I did it, and then it just like deformed her hand.
deformed hand.
And it was still that way later when she was like training in other scenes.
I thought it was fixed.
No, it was. I checked it later when they were doing the scene with the lightning battles. Her hand
Yeah.
was still jacked.
Yeah. You're talking about Fringilla.
Yeah, I just
But,
the kind of training that they do is ridiculous. Like,
That was the same girl who was dancing with the king first, right?
Correct.
No,
Ben.
that-
Yeah, that was.
Oh.
Ben is correct.
wait, no,
that
hang on.
character was the African American girl. Her name
Yes.
is Fringilla, and,
And she
she
was
is
the
in the video
niece.
game series as well.
Yeah. She's the niece of the other guy.
Correct.
of the head.
Correct. Yes.
Frangilla is, but the girl that I'm talking about is the girl who was in training with Yennefer in the beginning. That wasn't Frangilla.
I
Oh,
thought
where
it
they
was
were doing
Fringilla?
the mind, where they were trying to read each other's fears.
Right.
That
Yeah,
was somebody else.
levitate the
Yeah, that was
so
somebody
it's-
else.
Andrew. When they're levitating the stone and the flower in the first scene,
She absorbs all the stuff out of her hand and
Yeah.
it like curls up
But
black.
I thought
wasn't
that was
Frangilla.
her.
Yes, Ben is correct on that one. The one who
Really?
who kills the flowers and levitates the stone, but becomes an old wizard, like an old hag's hand.
Lady hand?
That is Fringilla, the same
Really?
character that.
Okay,
that
I was
you guys were
mistaken
both
then.
Talking about.
If
Yeah.
that's the case, I was mistaken. I thought that they were specifically just having all of the people besides Yennefer in that first class as like dirt. Like Yennefer was the
Oh.
only one who made
There
it
was
out of that
two other
graduating
people
class.
in that class that I think of. There was the African American chick, and then
Yeah.
a
Fringilla.
blonde chick who we saw at the ball a few times.
that was
Okay.
Sabrina. Was that
Sabrina.
girl's name?
But they were both in a class.
The teenage
right?
witch.
Right. They were the only other two. They were the only two ones to pass the test.
Okay.
Yes.
So everyone else got turned into an eel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
Can't they
say there
just
was
rem-
one other girl who they never mentioned what happened to her, but yeah, because wasn't there 7 students in the beginning, and they only
I don't know.
ended up showing the fates of 6.
Why?
So I guess everyone else was turned into an eel then. One of the girls had a doll with her, which I felt really bad for the girl with the doll.
Yeah,
But
when
she
she
was turned into
caught
an eel
lightning.
at the end.
Why not just wipe their memory and send them back off? I feel so bad for them, turning them into eels and sending
Yeah.
them.
Well, they were
just like-
used for like a power conduit, so they were basically turned into batteries, but
guess.
like living batteries. So they live on
Yeah.
as eels, but
I
they're
don't
kind
know.
of like that's really
Like,
is
just
really
trapped.
a shitty fate to have.
It's like, hey, come and be a sorceress. Oh, this sounds great. By the way, if you fail, we're gonna turn you into an eel.
Yeah. It was
think I'll just-
especially brutal because it seemed like right from the get-go the teacher knew who she was going to pass and who she was going to turn into eels, and Yennefer was kind of in the middle, so she was really the The only one who the teacher who didn't already know what was going to happen. So it's like if you're already on, because the teacher makes that one quote in the lightning test where she's like, it's the strong against the weak. Like if you're one of the people who failed, who she chose first to try and fail in the lightning test, because you didn't get to see anyone else try it, so you go up and fail. It's like, if you're one of those people, shouldn't you just try to leave? Like, escape? or if you want, even kill the headmistress and then leave? So that you won't be tracked down?
I was thinking about it, and I'm like, it's almost like, I think, like, they find a way to make it so that you don't really have a choice. And maybe they say, okay, well, we can assume who the strong and the weak are, but sometimes we're surprised.
Right.
So they put them through all these gauntlets. But then it's like, dude, just let them leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
rather than turning them into
the
conduits.
whole time, the headmistress called Yennefer Piggy or Piglet.
Yeah.
And like, we assumed that she was testing her because she was one of the weak. Because she couldn't levitate a stone.
Right.
She couldn't read people's
And in
mind.
the lightning test, she categoried her with the rest of the people who had failed.
Yeah. But
she didn't capture the lightning.
She captured it
absorbed it in her hand and then shot it at them.
Because that one girl got hit and she was out.
Yeah.
She wasn't dead, but she was done.
Yeah.
But she was still like, okay.
She was also the first one to go, so honestly, like, she had no advantage compared to anyone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Capture this lightning in a bottle.
A rigged competition. Yeah, like, she didn't get to see anyone else try it like the others did. So it seemed kind of rigged to me.
Yeah, could be. Then again, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. So they tell you to, hey, go capture lightning. So you go up there and you're like, you get zapped. Okay, you're next. Go capture lightning. The next person's like, the same thing, right? Like, what are you going to do? I don't know. But, I don't know. But any other comments before we move on to episode 3?
Oh, that was rough training. That just goes to show you how much of a badass Yennefer is, that she actually survived that nonsense.
Yeah.
With only the little that we saw.
Yeah, I'm curious about how long that was.
Right.
If it was a year, that would suck.
Yeah. And I have to say, man, that was really even more doubly impressive that Yennefer not only survived that, but at the end, closer to the end of episode 3, she even called out her own instructor. And she's like, you didn't decide to put me into Nilfgaard. The council decided it, and you were just forced to do whatever they say. And the teacher was kind of left being like, yeah, that's what happened. Like, I'm, I don't get to make the decision myself. It's the council.
Yeah.
I mean, man, Yennefer's got some cojones.
Yeah, there's some cojones there. It's definitely interesting to see. I'm curious to see her develop into the Yennefer that we know.
Right. Yes.
Which is like significantly more stable.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm curious though, because I was thinking about that too, because she's so different in the game. That's how I know her from. That I think one of the things that's gonna bring back her kindness, not be so blatantly power hungry, anyways.
Ciri.
Yeah. No. Oh. Is her elf friend is gonna die. Oh. And she is gonna be either couldn't stop
the rat catcher kid.
She brings him to die somehow by accident.
Interesting.
And then she's gonna that's gonna bring her back to reality.
Okay.
Wait, were you talking about Ciri or Yennefer?
Yennefer. Her. That
boyfriend,
yeah.
Oh, the boyfriend. Okay, that guy's name is
you had it
Istred.
earlier. Istred.
Yeah.
Although I feel like, was he not later in the games? Did he just? I don't know if I
didn't remember him. I don't think he is in the games, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
There's so many interesting mages
there's
in
the games, and this is going off the book, so there's a lot of
it could happen for sure.
But I feel like Yennefer is gonna either let him die and then just grow to regret it and become like a better person that we know in The Witcher 3.
Okay.
game.
I think he might be right on that score, Hitman. Do we want to take a Brett bet on that?
We might as well.
Alrighty.
Sure.
I like it.
Are we all going to have the same bet, though?
I'm going to take a different one. Just for
Alrighty.
fun. I think it's
Then we got
I think it's a
ourselves
huge
a wager.
possibility. I think it's a huge possibility, but I could think of other ones as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to say gonna let Istrid die / kill him herself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you cool with that?
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
she lets him die, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't need to be super specific. We got a general idea of these bets.
We could argue about it later during the Brett Bet episodes.
Yeah.
That's more fun.
Alrighty. So, Ben, you say yes?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
No? And
Yeah.
then I'm going to go with Ben on this one.
All right, it's 2-1 and 2-1.
Yep.
Yeah. But curious, do you have any
Yep.
theories about what's gonna, if she's gonna change or how she's gonna change?
I think it's gonna have to do with
Right.
the fact that she gave up the ability to have kids, and she's gonna meet Siri.
Siri and Joel.
I think she's gonna find that she has a mother instinct,
That's a good possibility too.
and I think that's gonna completely change her. But then again, maybe just experience will. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to
You
find
could be
out. There-
right,
I could-
Demon.
there could be a whole buttload of reasons for it. Because the other thing is how many years? It's maybe been 40 years from what we're watching to what we're about to watch with Geralt.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone is a lot of time and a lot of change. So
Yeah.
and if 40 years, maybe it's even longer. I don't know, but it depends on how old that king was. But
Yeah. Because this thing, I swear, it was like either 200 to 300 years old she was, or 7 to 8 in the book.
yeah,
Yeah, she
And
was
they-
definitely older than what she appeared.
yeah.
I just can't remember offhand.
They may have changed it for the show too,
Yeah,
just to make
exactly.
it like more easy to tell the story.
Yeah, more
but-
digestible.
So let's go on to episode 3 because this one blew my mind.
Oh my
When I
God.
was watching
Cool.
it, I was like, "Holy shit!" Not only was it creepy in some ways,
If we're at 51
a
minutes,
lot of
Demon,
ways.
do we want to stop and start a new one or just continue?
nah. Let's go. Let's
Yeah, let's just finish
let's
it.
You
go.
got it.
We'll give 2 bonus episodes and
Yeah. I
We'll
think
go
we'll
for
just talk
gold.
about the abandoned castle.
the abandoned
Sweet.
castle.
Yeah, in Temeria.
We talked about pretty much everything else in episode 3.
That's
yeah.
true.
Oh,
We do get
the
to-
one thing I was happy to see was the introduction of another character, Triss
damn.
Marigold,
Triss
who we
Marigold.
know from the
Yeah.
game series. She was the redhead in the game series.
Yep.
And in the show, she's also slightly got kind of a rust-colored hair
She's
going on. But,
ethnic.
yeah,
She's
but definitely
ethnic.
different.
And she has, but yet she's ethnic. But it was an interesting casting.
Yeah,
in terms
she did
of
a great
looks.
job as Triss.
Great
I
job.
thought she did awesome.
And I liked because they left it a little bit open, right? Not maybe pure straight ginger, like in the game.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know about the books, right?
I want to
But-
say she was brown haired in the books.
In the books, if she is brown hair, but she has like certain freckle highlights.
Yeah.
Definitely ethnic, but certain freckle highlights, and so
in the
like
game,
the
she
casting
was
itself.
freckled.
Yeah, the casting, like I thought was kind of interesting, but very good because especially in a day in Hollywood where we're trying to drive, just like equality in general. I thought that it was both interesting that they selected that, but tasteful in the sense, and then also I was pleasantly surprised by how it worked out.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think I could imagine that some game enthusiasts might just get irritated because just like book enthusiasts too,
Yeah.
if you don't cast exactly how it's projected in the book or the game, sometimes people get irritated. That's
Right.
a reality.
Yeah.
I mean, but for me, I was kind of just open to whatever, and I had been pleased enough by everything that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
that I was like, I'll just go for it.
Right. Same here. Same
Yeah.
here, Jeff. Yeah.
So, I was not unsatisfied at all. I thought it was so far so good. The only thing that was a little weird was she's clearly a true mage.
Yes.
The Triss Marigold that I know is a lot more like
Street level.
street level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
She
I
was
don't
like
know.
surviving in the underground, so to speak.
I mean, she's like
That's how
like,
she is in Witcher 3 anyway. I think in Witcher 2, she's in a much more prestigious position where she is advising a king. But in Witcher 3, she's gone beyond that role and she's living in an underground renegade lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, also when you like meet her and you're like debating on your romancing and stuff like that, she's kind of like the who the fuck cares? I'm your bro's bro kind of girl.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like meeting this Triss was like, I it's not that I can't see it. It's just that it's not there yet.
I think her character will also grow into that eventually.
Yeah, that would be fun. So that was interesting though. But yeah, I thought she did a great job. So
it was really cool to see the fake Witcher. Do you guys think that guy was even a real Witcher?
Yes.
Or was he just pretending?
Yeah, he was. I thought the same thing when they first introduced him.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a fake Witcher.
Yeah.
But then what I realized was it was a real Witcher.
And he just was probably
you see
a
that
novice.
one scene, he goes into the house with the
meat market.
He had his eyes though.
Yeah, and his eyes
He had the potion with his eyes.
He had the potion with the
He was a
veins
real
going
Witcher.
down.
And then Geralt pulled that thing off and he was pissed because he's like, you mean you told him that he went off with the money and you didn't say that this thing bested a Witcher? And he was like, Geralt was pissed about it.
Yeah.
So like I
it
think
sullied
that,
the Witcher's name that they said that.
Now, whether he was like fresh off the initiation Witcher,
he was probably
or what,
fresh off the initiation
because Geralt didn't really know him.
Right.
And that's why she's like, you're not familiar with him. And then when I think back to Witcher 3, there's like 5 Witchers left.
Right. Yeah.
So then I'm like,
yeah.
I
would say that's probably safe to say that Vesemir was probably not that dude's instructor.
Probably not.
Do you remember Vesemir from Witcher 3, Ben?
Wait. I do.
Yeah, he was the badass instructor. They mentioned him and Geralt mentioned him in episode 1 when he was talking to Roach.
Oh,
did he?
Yeah, he just mentioned
notice.
Vesemir. He's like, Vesemir used to always say, blah, never take your opponent for granted or whatever.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty good. I don't know. It's interesting because when you get to meet the other Witchers in Witcher 3, there are a few unique personalities.
Yeah, they're not anything. The other Witchers are really not anything like Geralt.
No. You would think like, they're a breed on their own. You just like follow Geralt all the time, and he's the Witcher, and the Witcher this, and the Witcher that. Yeah. And you're like, he's the Witcher, and all of them must be like this. And then you meet the other ones, and you're like, what? They're nothing like that.
Right? Yeah, they're very different.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes them the same is their abilities.
Right. Yeah.
And their training, I guess, but personality-wise, they're totally different.
Yeah, it is a shame that Witcher got killed so easily. And it kind of sullied the Witcher name, unfortunately, in Temeria.
Well, by the end, they're building a statue. So.
Right.
Well, not of him.
I think so.
No, I thought they were building a statue of the guy the Witcher tied up.
Ben is correct. They're building a statue for the Lord that Geralt tied up. Because it was kind of a conspiracy.
That.
Yeah, part of the conspiracy.
Ben is correct.
So
wow, what a scumbag.
I think honestly that dude was not that bad, but for whatever reason he was just stubborn on that curse, and he wouldn't let go of that curse. Geralt gave him every opportunity to do it, and he just wouldn't drop that curse.
I don't know, man. What did Geralt smell
fate
that he was doing on those sheets?
Yeah, that is true.
Geralt was like,
he was doing something.
I smelled you on old and new.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like, what have you been doing here, motherfucker?
Yeah.
And I was like,
he did have that
what does that imply? I don't know, but it might be really gross and creepy. I'm not sure.
That is true, Demon. Yeah. I
did
commend that.
I loved her. You know, I don't know.
I did commend that Lord because he gave the miners a chance to back down right in the beginning when the miners were going to revolt. That Lord stepped in and he's like, I'm not going to tell King, the King of Temeria about this as long as you chill. And the miners, didn't really want to accept his
But I thought that was all part of his ploy because he wanted
could've
to
been.
see them eventually overthrow the king. So I thought he was like,
ploy?
yeah, because he's like, I want to see what was his name? The king?
King Foltest of Temeria.
Yeah, Foltest. I thought he was like, Foltest deserves to have Temeria overthrow him. Like, he was like yelling all that stuff. So I thought like part of his play was like, yeah, I'm so nice. Like,
is that how it was,
I'll give you
Ben?
a chance.
Is that how it was?
I was with
Demon's
you,
right.
but now I'm not sure because I thought it was just being like.
I didn't think he was like
Really
that either,
good
but now
guy.
that you mention that, Demon, I think you're probably
He
right.
was yelling that,
was probably
stuff
part of his
later.
plan
He was
all
yelling
along.
that stuff.
That
I
son
thought
of
it
a
was something
bitch.
that he wanted.
He wanted to see Temeria overthrow.
This child keep hurting the king.
That's why he was so stubborn about the curse, because he was like, the curse is going to keep messing with the people,
Right.
and the people are going to blame it on the king and overthrow him. And so, like, the entire
Which was
thing
his end
was,
game.
He was,
That's
Yeah.
what
yeah,
he
I thought
wanted.
the entire thing was him
That might
seeing
be
that king
true, yeah.
tortured by losing Temeria.
But
Oh
I
man,
was
that was
confused
part of
about
his
his-
ploy all along.
Relationship with
That
It
son
was
of a
that.
bitch.
That's why he was so
He had
jaded.
me fooled. I would have been one of those miners. That crafty son of a bitch.
I thought that was the whole thing. Like, I was just like,
I missed that.
this
Demon.
little sleaze.
yeah, but what
Wow.
was his actual relationship? Was it the princess?
So he was in
And that
love
was
with the queen.
daughter
He was in
queen?
love with
Ada. Yes.
who
and
was.
the sister, the princess.
So that wasn't the queen, the king's wife.
The queen at the time was their mom.
Right. And so that was the princess, and they were lovers. And
Well,
then,
no, what we find out at the end is that Ada and the brother, Fentist, were actually in love, and he was just a jealous scumbag.
Wait, the brother? Who was the brother?
Fentist, the king. It's
Fortress.
not great. I'm not saying... So
Oh.
what I'm not saying is, like, Fentist and Ada is... It's wrong.
I want to say that king is Foltest Senior, because in Witcher 2, there's a young blonde king who's like super energetic. He's already dead by the time Witcher 3 starts, but I'm pretty sure he's the grandfather or father of... Well, we get to see
Fentist,
little
yeah.
Foltest in the show.
Yeah.
So eventually
that's-
that
but that's
little
in the
blonde-haired
past, though.
Foltest,
Well, we
Yeah.
see the photo.
he becomes the king
not
of
photo,
Temeria.
But the picture.
Right.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point is, I think that guy was twisted because he was in love with Ada, but Ada grossly, and I'll say that, grossly, had a relationship with her brother. The mom found out and was like freaking out about it. That's what all the letters were. Like, you guys need to stop. This is wrong, blah, blah, blah. They're siblings. So, I mean, the queen was freaking out. And he was in love with Ada and clearly super jealous.
Of the king.
And so, so I think he cursed the king for being a gross brother. And that's why the brother was kind of like curse, love, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's a very twisted situation, which is another one of those twisted situations you get in Witcher, which is the right thing is sometimes brought on by people doing the wrong thing who aren't necessarily evil, but then somebody doing maybe semi the right thing is totally like whacked. So anyway, that's where I thought that guy was, and that's why the Witcher hated him so much.
Yeah.
And that's why he left him.
Yeah.
For
that is
scene.
very true. I'm sure if Geralt really acted as disgust, if he really was genuinely disgust as he acted in that scene, then that was probably pretty foul, whatever that Lord Ostrich or whatever was whatever he was getting.
I mean, he
down
left
to.
him to a gruesome death, and he hated him. He's like, "You're not even a man. Like, this is gross," kind of thing. So I don't even know what he did. I got the sense that he might have had a little necrophilia going on when Geralt had that conversation with him, where he's like, "I smelled what you did," and he like turned his head to him. He's like, "I smelled what you did before and later," kind of thing.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, shit.
This
That might be bad.
This whole story arc really reminded me of one of the major probably the biggest story arc of Witcher 3, which was with the Bloody Baron of Velen.
Yes.
You guys remember that scene with the whole botchling? This whole story arc reminded me of that same story, where the king had a shameful past history he was trying to redeem himself from. Yeah. Yeah.
And the botchling, though, can't kill you the same way this Striga could.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the Striga was way more combat-oriented, let's say.
I want to say that was an amazing scene when he's like badass. He comes out of the hallway. He's whipping his silver chain, and he whips it around her. Yeah. And it's like burning her, and then she like breaks out of it, and he just goes, "Fuck." That's it. It like launches at her. I'm like, yeah, that was awesome.
That was super cool. I loved, like I was saying before, I loved when he did the force push thing. And he blasted the Striga down the hallway, and you could see like the dust motes like fly, get vacuumed in with that was really cool. And just the fact when they first introduced the Striga, and she was walking through the snow-covered hallway, and you could see like, I think it was her umbilical cord was dragging behind her. Oh man, that was just like gross and horrifying, all wrapped up into one.
Yeah. And there was some cool horror-esque scenes that were just really good.
That scene in the bedroom with the guy she gutted.
Lord Ostrich. She just was disemboweled
pure,
him.
like horror movie.
Yeah.
He's like looking around. It's behind him.
He's also tied to a bed, which is just terrible. Apparently he deserved it, but only Geralt knew the truth of that.
Right.
The rest of us are debating about it now, and he's getting a statue erected of him.
This would be one thing our listeners could chime in. Did Lord Ostrich deserve his fate? Yay or nay?
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear, and I'm still unclear about the exact relationship between him and the daughter.
Well, we haven't read the books, and I don't know if it's in there or not, but it'd be really cool if some of the more knowledgeable listeners, I mean, let's face it, we're not the most knowledgeable based on time concerns, so it would be great if some of the listeners would chime in and just let us know.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be fun.
What do you guys think? Did that guy deserve his disembowelment, or was Geralt being somewhat unresponsible for that whole thing?
The thing is, I thought he was angry that he cursed a child, and that's what's the relationship he had with the person.
I think he was angry about that.
That's
too,
a good call, Ben.
Because that was an innocent. It's like, how could you do that to that's your kid or the king's kid? Or...
Well, he was trying to curse the king, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was.
But it didn't...
And he cursed the king by cursing the daughter.
Right.
The daughter was ultimately the one who was punished the most in that scenario, and she was kind of an innocent.
Yeah, that was very, very, very cool. I did like the scene where he's like, when he gets the guy to say the elder chant, and he's like, and then she told me to bathe in the blood of the goat and sit in this area until the roaster crews 3 times. And then Geralt just like takes his potion and he's like, is there anything I could do? And he's like, not unless you can keep a Striga out of her crypt until dawn and the rooster crows 3 times, you bastard.
Yep.
Good and it's Lord. Like, you're going to have to fight her till dawn.
Yeah, man.
Geralt was basically like, fuck.
He barely survived that.
This is going to be a long night.
Yeah. Dude, I loved his use of the Quen ability when he used the shield on the crypt door. He infused that shield on the crypt door, and then he used it on an actual room door as well in one of the other scenes. Like, oh shit! I'm pretty sure in the game when you use Quen, it shields yourself physically. Yeah. But I wonder if you can use it to infuse it on other objects.
In the show, you can.
Yeah, in the show, you can.
In the game, that might have been too annoying, because then, who knows what we'd be doing.
Be too hard to program.
Yeah.
But that's one of the great uses I've ever seen. Like, I'm just going to hide in the crypt myself.
Right.
And cast Quen. Now she can't get in. By herself. Don't have to fight her now.
Geralt totally trolled that Striga.
Dude, I freaked out, though, when he got out and she was almost human, but she
Yeah.
still had like the claws of the
She
Striga.
was human, but she was basically a feral child because she never
Yeah.
knew anything other than her life as a monster.
Yeah, but she still had the.
She had the
She
claws.
did, like, she went, and then her claws popped out.
Yeah, she
so I
still
don't
had
know.
the hand, and then when she dug it, because the crazy thing is, Geralt comes out of the grave, and his like armor's jacked,
Yeah.
and
right.
so he dropped the armor on this side,
Yeah.
Right.
and she woke up, and she still had part of the hand
Yeah.
on her hand, and then when she stuck it into him, I couldn't figure it out for a while. I watched it twice. She stuck it into him, and she moved it, and her hand came out, but the Striga claw stayed in Geralt's neck.
Oh.
Was sticking out.
Interesting.
So it was like an
That was like
exoskeleton.
the last of her ability.
Right. It wouldn't know it was like a Striga exoskeleton that was like kind of like on her body. That's
Interesting.
what I interpreted from that. Because she like stuck it in and she pulled it out and it was still there.
Yeah,
like
I
the
saw it
claws were
still in
stuck
there.
in his neck.
But
So-
that's one of the things I have to go back and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
I
go
watched
back and
it
see
twice to find that because I was like, whoa, that was fast. That was crazy. Second time I watched it, I was like, because I watched episode 3 twice. I was like, oh my God, she still had the hand, and then she stuck it in and actually removed it, and her hand came out, but the claws stayed.
that. Yeah.
So it was almost like this like remaining exoskeleton, maybe. So we could all watch it third time, but
And then Geralt is, of course, rescued and resuscitated by Triss,
Yes.
who was definitely one of my favorite characters from the game. She had probably, I think, my favorite quote of the whole series goes to Triss Marigold when she says to Geralt in this part, "Not answering questions is a pillar of your brooding charm." Which I thought was a really hilarious quote that says a lot about both Triss and Geralt.
yeah. Oh man.
Geralt
I-
is not one for freely giving information.
So I think we've talked through all the episodes. So let's just open up for any like final thoughts, comments. Not like rushed, but
Sure.
if you have any open spots. If not, I think it's clear if you're watching part 2 now of this that we were excited by our initial reaction of The Witcher. I think all 3 of us are probably super pumped to watch the next
3
5 episodes.
Or 5, yeah. You
Yeah.
get 5.
Yeah. If it's 8, it's 5. If it's 6, it's 3.
No,
but either
you
way,
are correct. It is 8.
okay. So I think we're looking forward to the next 5. So I think the next set of this that we'll do when we're all done. I would expect. I think that makes sense. I mean, but any other thoughts?
Oh, not off the top of my head.
I loved it.
I'm super pumped. Like I can't wait. I haven't been this excited about a show in a long time. I mean,
Yeah,
when I
man.
say a long time, I mean I was excited about Game of Thrones and things like that. But this feels like I'm pumped. Every night I'm going there, I feel like I'm playing a game. Kind of like when I'm excited to get home and play a game. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
dude, I can't wait to go watch some Witcher. So I'll probably watch some tonight. 1 episode at a time, probably. So, but all right, cool.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts? Should we cheers any deaths?
Well, we already cheered Renfrey.
There was the stabbing of the series savior by her dwarf servant. She seemed like she deserved it in some way, even though she was kind.
Yeah. I
don't
would
wanna cheers
definitely
her, I'm just
cheers
joking.
to the Queen of Centra and her
Ah,
awesome
she was a
Skellige husband.
badass.
Yes.
Both
Yeah.
of those, they were a
Both of
power
them
couple
were
through and
awesome.
through.
It makes
Cheers
me
to
really
Queen.
interested to see Ciri's actual parents.
Yeah. Cheers to Queen Kalenth and her Skellige
Kalenth.
husband.
Cool.
And then episode 3, who should we cheers to in episode 3?
Definitely not the ostrich.
Cheers to the fake Witcher. To the novice
Yeah,
Witcher.
why not? I mean, he might not have been fake. He was just doing his
Yeah, he
best.
could have
I
just
thought it
been a
was legit.
novice.
He just wasn't Geralt level.
He didn't have Vesemir as a trainer. Never had Geralt as a trainer.
Maybe they sent him off. It was like his first mission.
Yeah, that
How
could have been that
terrible would
dude's
that have
first.
been? He looked older though, but
That would
he
be
was still
rough.
taking his money up front. Shit. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you joining us for this early reaction to The Witcher on Netflix. Hopefully you agree with us. If you don't, we're interested in your opinion anyway, because fuck, what do we know? We don't know anything. But it's been fun. We're going to enjoy the rest of the series. I definitely cannot wait to play Witcher 3 again, and I super hope that it kind of pumps some energy into the series, because I would love to play Witcher 4.
Yeah.
And I actually love the backstory. I love how the world is staying in sync to the level where it's making sense. And I think we will also, at some point, read some books, because that's what this is fucking all about, after all.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So,
I'm curious about the book now.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I've heard interesting things about it, like it's good adaptable, the author is flexible, whatever. But, I mean, what do we know until we read? At least we have the opinion then. It's hard to have an opinion when you don't know. So, with that said, I guess we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
And so, thanks for joining us on Lit Literature.
Yep.
Oh, we'll wait for the captain, who completed he has like a sip left on his growler.
A fourth of a sip.
Just enough for the cheers. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at lyket.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.